We think that voice is becoming the main user interface, the main channel of communication between humans and machines. And you have Google Glasses, smartwatch, connected cars, TVs, home automation systems, and in a few years, maybe personal robots or drones, and for all these devices, you don't have a screen. You cannot touch or swipe or do anything. You just need to talk. And so voice will become the main interface, at least until we solve the direct brain to machine communication issue. So the problem with voice is recently very impressive progress has been made in speech recognition. So for instance, companies like Google or Nuance have made very, very efficient speech engine, and they can take voice and get you some text out of this voice. But then your app or your device can't work with text. You need some structured information. You need to know the intent or the action for the user, and you need some structured information, date, values, and so on, in order for your app to be able to work. So there is a big gap between text and the structured information that your app needs. Wit's goal is to fill this gap with something that's easy to use for developers. So natural language understanding is a big problem, but what our belief at Wit is that if there is a community of developers working together and sharing data and experience and collaborating on the platform, a little bit like on GitHub for code, then we can solve this problem. So this is what Wit is trying to do for you. So enough slides. I promise I wouldn't use slides. Let's go to the platform. So normally you already have a Wit account. If it's not the case, you can just sign up on Wit.ai with your GitHub account, and then you'll be able to use the Wit console. So here I'm using a brand new instance. It's empty or almost empty. You see that it's not an instance. So I create a new instance. So you shouldn't have to do that. Webinar. Okay, so it's a new instance. Sorry for the glitch. It's a real-time demo, as you can see, with a goodbye and hello instance. Okay, so this instance, my virtual agent, knows only about hello and goodbye. And so, for instance, if I say hey, I can type it here. So this text box over on top here is the most important area of the console. You should start almost everything, every action from there. You type something, press enter, and Wit tells you what it thinks it means. So hey was mapped to hello, okay, but if you look at the confidence here, it's very low, 26% confidence. Because Wit doesn't know about this word hey, it's just a guess that it might be hello. Any confidence below 50% is very low. You shouldn't trust it, but because you are grown-ups and we trust you, your judgment, Wit will always give an answer. Even with 0.1 confidence, you still get the best answer from Wit. But so it's your job, your responsibility to not trust Wit output when confidence is too low, and low usually means below 50%. So anyway, this is hello, and here I will validate to tell Wit, okay, yeah, this is you're right. It means hello. So you notice that this light was green, it's not orange, meaning that the status is dirty. So what is dirty is you told something to Wit, but it was not taken into account yet in the learning process. So Wit's, okay, it's clean now. So every minute or so, but it can be a longer time when you have a very big instance, Wit learns, and then get back to the clean status, which is a green light. So now, if I type hey again, you see I have hello intent, but now confidence is 50%. And it was 26% before I taught this. So you can ask, why isn't it 100%? Because this is the exact same word, the same sentence that I taught. So the reason is Wit knows you only have 2 intents, and for a total of 6 expressions. So he knows about 6 sentences in the world. And it's not enough. And so Wit realizes that even if you have the same sentence, it might be a mistake or a problem. With so little knowledge about the world, just 2 intents, Wit is never absolutely sure of what he does. So it's normal that you don't get much more than 50% in this case. But as you grow your instance, and typically until you have about 10 intents and something like 10 expressions per intent, it's a little bit confidence should stay low because the knowledge of Wit about the world is too small. So we'll start building intents now. If you build your virtual agent and you ask some people to try it, the very first sentence you receive, trust me, I've been doing this for 12 years, is what's your name? People are polite. We ask that. And again, you see, my instance is so empty that Wit maps this to hello, just in case, but with 26% confidence, which is like nothing. So we create an indent, and you can create an indent straight from this select field here. So this is the normal way to create an indent. We like the bottom-up approach where you try a sentence and then create if there is no indent. And we call this bot's name, for instance. Don't hesitate to type long names, explicit names for your intents, because then you can filter and look up intents per with keywords. So it's good to have explicit names. So let's call this bot name and validate. Okay, we have a new intent, and if you happen to have other synonym sentences in mind for your intent, you can just type the expressions from here. So for once, I won't type on the tryout sentence field over there, but straight in this field in the middle of the page. So something like, tell me your name, how should I call you, and so on. So that's okay. Now people will may I ask a name. What is your name? So that's an easy one. Okay, bot's name, 53% confidence. You see that confidence is slowly going up because we have more intents, more expressions. So that works. So tell me your name. Okay, but now next step, and again, trust my experience, people will try to trap your virtual agent and they will ask, what is my name? So the difference between what is your name and between my name is just one word difference. So it's your becomes a my, and these are called stop words or grammatical words in linguistics. So most search engines, for instance, just ignore these words. But as you see, they bear a lot of meaning. In the case of Wit, the very first time you get that, what is my name, Wit will do the mistake because it knows so few things and only one thing about the name, concept of name, and everything that it will map this to bot name intents. But you see that confidence is low. It was more than 50% with the correct question, and now it's below 50%. And so to avoid this, because we don't want this behavior, we create a new intent and call it user's name to keep the symmetry. Okay, so you see that intents will work like attractors, expressions attractors, and so next time somebody says, "What's my name?" Is it trained already? No, it's not trained already. That's a good. Let's wait for a few seconds that the status goes back to green. Refresh. And okay, what's my name? It's username with low confidence still because we only have one expression for this instance, so Wit knows it's fragile. But as we add more expressions, it will be better. So where are we now? We have 4 instances, hello and goodbye, which were provided with the new instance, and bot name and username to answer the name question. So that's not a very useful virtual agent. It's time to build something more interesting. So let's say the user wants to set an alarm clock, which is one of the main usage of Apple's Siri, for instance. So people say things like "wake me up at 6 a.m." Again, I start with the tryout sentence field. Look at the results. No, that's not the bot name. Okay, very low confidence. I want to create, let's say, alarm intent. And unlike the intents we've seen so far, we need to extract some information. We want to set an alarm. So if your app is an alarm clock, or if your app is integrated with Android's alarm, for instance, you need to give a time to the device. And so how to extract this information from the sentence? It's what we call an entity. So the first step is to select inside the sentence the span with the information you want to extract. So here it's 6 a.m. the time. And we will create an entity to capture this information. So when you start, you have what we call built-in entities. So there are some entities that have been done by us, and we take care of them and train them correctly. So each time you should use an entity that's already existing. There is a keyword search for entities, so let's try with time. Okay, because we want to extract the time, and we have 2 results. One is called Wit date time, and the other one is a duration, if you want to extract a duration. But here we want an absolute date time, not a duration. So we will select this one. I click on it, and you see that Wit says, okay, you want extracted date time, and the value in this case will be August 30 at 6 a.m. in the morning. So you see that Wit out of the box does this job, which is not an easy one, to extract structured information like time from anything you could type, like tomorrow, or the day before Christmas, or in 2 weeks, or there are millions of ways to express these things. But Wit should do it for you. And so why do we have an interval? Just a side information. Because in some case, it's useful to have an interval. If you say from Thursday to Friday, for instance, this is an interval, but also it's a matter of precision. When you say 6 a.m., we say, okay, this is a span from 6 to 7. If you say 6:00 a.m., we'd say this is a span from 6:00 to 6:01. So it's a good way to not lose some information that is conveyed by the sentence in English in the value. So basically what you see on this screen with intent, alarm, and with daytime and the value is the JSON you will get at runtime when you get this sentence. So the goal here is just to tell Wit what you need to be extracted, what you need to see in your JSON when you will call the API eventually. So let's validate this sentence. And so let's try now, wake me up, next Friday at noon. Once our instance is trained, we should get the right thing. Okay, so we are it's Thursday at least in San Francisco. So next Friday is tomorrow, and so next Friday at noon is August 30 at noon. So you see the work that Wit is doing for you. Even when you do some small tests like that, every time it's right, just validate. It's one more sentence, one more expression in your intent, and so Wit will be more efficient and more confident as it gets more expressions. So this was an example of quite a structured and closed entity because the value is a date, and a date is a very limited thing. It's very well defined, but you can capture things like free text as well. A good example of that is if you want to offer a translation service to your user. So if your user asks to your virtual agent, translate I love you into French, we will create a translate intent for that. And we want to extract free text. So we want to know what needs to be translated. Okay, so in this case, it's I love you. I select it. And again, there is something in the built-in entities doing that for you. Phrase to translate captures free text. That's a phrase the user wants to translate. Okay, just what I need here. That's good. And I also need to know the target language. When I call the Google Translation API, you want me to tell them, oh, and this is there, in which language I need to translate the sentence. So I validate that. And unlike the case with the datetime where we have a very closed value for the entity, here, we can have quite open thing, free text. So translate blah, blah, blah into Chinese. You see that even if it's not even actual English words, based on the position in the sentence and the context, which is able to guess that this probably this thing has to be translated into Chinese. So it's called what we call free text entities, and we use that typically for search queries, for translation, and also when you compose a message. Like if you tell your visual agent, tell Bob I'll be late tonight, you want to extract the I'll be late tonight as a message body, and you need these kind of free text entities to do that. So it's still, this is a built-in entity. This is something that we built for you. And you know that because you have the wit slash prefix on this entity. What if you want to do something completely new and that we didn't think about, so we didn't build the entity for you? You can create your own custom entities, and it's very important for us that you are autonomous and you can build whatever you want. So I'll give you an example. You want to make a shopping list builder, and so things you want to buy, you don't want to forget to buy, and you have intent expressions like buy beer. No, that's not goodbye. 10%. So let's call this shop, and you need to extract what needs to be bought. Okay, in this case, beer, and there is no shopping list item entity. We didn't build that, so no problem. Let's create it. So let's find a name, shopping item, for instance, and press enter. And so this is a JSON I'll extract from this sentence. Intent is shop, and shopping item is beer. Validate. Let's give a new buy bread, and this is the things to shopping item. And let's say buy milk. So we've created an entity called shopping item. You can have a look at your entities in the entities menu on the left. Here it is. So we have 3 values and 1 expression for per value. So if you want to declare here, for instance, that Budweiser is synonym with beer, which is a question itself, but out of the scope of this webinar, you can type it here. And Wit, when it sees Budweiser, will map it to the beer value. We'll see that in a minute. So let's try that. By Budweiser. Okay, so Wit understood it's a shop intent, and it was mapped to beer because I added the expression in the entity right before. So you see that this kind of entity, even if it's a list, it's always open. If I type by water, so again, based on the many features in the sentence, Wit thinks that water should be part of this list, it will just add it in the list. That's why, so it's not a closed list, it's an open list of values always. So it's easy to create entities this way, but again, if you think you need an entity that's not just useful for you, but for other people, or if you need a more complex behavior for your entity, like for datetime, which has a parsing and resolution engine built in, then you should contact us and we will build the entity for you if we agree that it's not just for you, but that it's useful for many people. So we will continue, so building new entities is what we will do a lot in the future to make sure that when you need something, it's ready off the shelf. We know you are lazy and we want to do that for you. So we've done, it's a very small detergent, but already we know to say hello, set an alarm, build a shopping list, to shop to the list, translate some things, and so on. It's important now that we start integrating our virtual agent with actual users, beta users. It's not good to spend too much time in a closed environment, alone in front of your screen, to try to guess what people will ask for virtual agent. You have to put it in front of in the real world, in front of real users, as soon as possible. So you need to integrate the Wit API for that. We have a very precise documentation about the API. It's easy to integrate. You just have one entry point. It should be easy to do. You can try it from your command line if you want. So in the settings page, you can type something, and you have the curl request with the authorization header and the API code. So let's try that. Copy it in my bash. And so you see the answer, Wit answer, is outcome intent is shop, okay? And it extracted one entity called shopping item. It's what we just created. And the body of the entity means the span in the sentence, and the value of the entity is booze. And you also see that the detail that suggested true means that booze was not in the list of our entity. It was added by Wit, so it's suggested addition to the list. And of course, confidence was important because again, Wit, you are grown up and Wit will always give you an output. So you have to discard it if it's too low. In this case, 57 should be okay. So let's try something else. By paper and by pen. And I also try to say hi there. To show you a few calls. They're not very user-friendly. Okay. So I did a few calls through the API to show you a very important feature, which is the inbox. So inbox is the main way to improve your virtual agent, your Wit instance, once it's in the real world, once you have actual API calls. So the philosophy of the inbox is when Wit does something, you have an opportunity to correct it or to validate it. So validation is like a reward. It tells Wit, yes, you did a great job. That was fine. And if it's not fine, you just, like for a child, you tell Wit what it should do. And this is a way we learn. So for instance, we see our 3 calls by pen, paper, and booze are here, and we just reports to you what it did with the output it gave to the user. So shop pen is okay, I will validate from there. Shop paper was okay. And let's just say that in case of booze, actually booze for me is synonym of beer. So I tell Wit, okay, no, please take value beer in this case, and I validate. If the threshold was too low, if the confidence was below a certain threshold, intent would just be empty. And in this case, again, you can create an intent straight from here, or map it to an existing intent. In this case, hello. So you see that it's very fast and efficient to train Wit from the inbox. So I see 2 phases when you create your virtual agent. First phase, you work with a try-out sentence field. And once you reach something that beta user or friends can start to use, integrate the API, and then use the inbox to build things from actual usage, which is much better. And you'll discover you'll discover things that you never trust me, that you never expected. So, for instance, I'm sure you will soon get questions like, "What is the meaning of life?" Because yeah, people do ask that to test your virtual agent. Even if you tell them my virtual agent is a home automation virtual agent, they will ask what is the meaning of life. Just a tip, if you try to answer all these questions, you will never, it's a never-ending story. You have thousands, tens of thousands of those. So better rely on something that's already out there. So for instance, Wolfram Alpha has a lot of knowledge, and you don't want to be the one rebuilding Wolfram Alpha yourself. So for instance, what is the meaning of life? It has the answer, 42. So why not use Wolfram API to get this feature done? In this case, you just need Wit to guess that's a good question for Wolfram. And so we will create an intent called Wolfram will this kind of questions. And each time Wit tells you this is a Wolfram question, you will, once you get the Wit response, you will just query the Wolfram API and get the answer. So you spend 10 minutes to build that, and you have a very impressive virtual agent able to answer hundreds of thousands of questions straight out of the box. So I will also create an entity with the actual question, and we have an entity called Wolfram Search Query. So in this way, if people say, do you know what is the meaning of life? You won't send the do you know part to Wolfram. You will just extract the actual question, what is the meaning of life, and send it to a query Wolfram with that. So you can extract the question part. So this is very useful for any kind of query Wikipedia, Google, Wolfram, or other search engines query. So you see, I did my Wolfram intent, and let's say somebody now asks something like, what is the size of the Earth? I'm just waiting for training to be complete. I don't like this orange dot. Okay, this is green. Yeah, with just one expression, we guessed, okay, it looks like a good Wolfram question for Wolfram, and the question is, what is the size of the Earth? And this is something I know Wolfram answers very well. Let's validate. So you see a kind of hack how you can leverage existing knowledge bases to make your virtual agent have more general knowledge and to be very smart out of the box. Still, you need to, if you need to do the action yourself or to do something, actual thing for your user, you still have to create your own intents. But it's okay to mix intents like Wolfram, very generic intents, and more directed, actionable intents like alarm or translate or shop, as we've seen. And again, the way I use Wit every morning for my instances, I go to the inbox, and it's never empty because I have some users. But here I find what I need, what I can improve in Wit right here. So it's important to integrate with your app, and we've used the curl request in the command line terminal. That's not very user-friendly. It's extremely easy to integrate with Node.js, for instance. So we have a tutorial on the doc website where we use Node.js to integrate Wit with Twilio. So if you are not familiar with Twilio, it's a very nice, easy-to-use API to send and receive text messages. So in this tutorial, we build a text message service where you can ask Wit to tell you jokes about, and more specifically, Chuck Norris jokes about whatever topic you want. And so Wit integrated with a text SMS service. It's also very easy and gives very impressive results to integrate with Android. Speech-to-text engine from Google is very, very, very impressive in Android. And in 5 minutes, you can integrate that with Wit. So you can have integrate a voice experience to your Android app quite easily. And again, there is a step-by-step tutorial for that on our documentation website. So that's it for